doing today, everybody? This is Michael out in Maui. So today I thought I'd just go over how high should you throw the disc in the air. A lot of times I'll see people come out on the course to play and they're new to the game, beginners, and they'll be throwing the disc, up. They'll take it and they'll throw the disc up in the air. Obviously, because, you throw up, you think, goes further, you get more distance. But to throw the disc higher in the air takes more technique. So the discs are meant to throw flat. So when you're learning, you just want to throw the disc completely flat and trust the disc's ability to fly. As a beginner, maybe you're throwing a mid-range. A mid-range gets a lot of air underneath them because they're larger discs. Here, let's see. Like these two mid-ranges here, you can see, there are larger discs than the drivers, how it overhangs. These are meant to catch air underneath them, and they'll just hover better. The drivers and the fairway drivers, it takes a lot more to throw them because they're narrower, and they're a lot thinner and they don't catch as much air. But to throw the disc, so when you're throwing the disc and you're trying to throw it high as a beginner to get distance, the problem you fall into is when you throw the disc up, the bottom of the plate is totally exposed to the wind. And so a lot of times it just lifts your disc up in the air and, you go about, 50 feet. And the disc comes crashing back down to the ground. So as a beginner, you just want to throw right in front of you. No higher off the ground than maybe 15 feet. Get the disc about 10 feet off the ground when you throw. Just right here in front of you. Don't aim up. Right in front of you. And when you throw, practice on keeping the nose down with your wrist angle. But keep everything low so then the wind will have less chance to affect it. As you get better and become like an intermediate player and you can now throw the disc maybe 20 feet off the ground maximum. You're learning how to get the nose down, but you don't do it all the time. So maybe, as a beginner, 15 feet and down. And then as you get a little better, about 20 feet off the ground, maximum 25 feet off the ground on a throw. If you're not doing, if you're not getting a nose down flight consistently, I wouldn't throw the disc higher than 20 feet as an intermediate. The higher you throw, the better you have to be at keeping the nose down when you release the disc. An expert player, someone that's been playing a long time, the reason they could throw the disc 40 feet in the air is because of their technique. Their technique allows them to throw the disc on an angle up, and as the disc goes up, it'll flatten out and then start flying the proper flight pattern. But because he throws it with the nose down, that's what allows it to get up in the air and then fly. It takes a lot of technique and a lot of practice to get to throw a disc, 40, 50 feet in the air and have it fly, the flight. A lot of times you'll see someone try to throw a disc really high in the air to get maximum distance, and you'll be watching the disc and all of a sudden the disc will be flying out to the right. It means he lost it. He didn't have the nose down, so the disc just kept climbing and climbing, and then it's going to fade out. And a lot of times it'll just fade out to the right or fade out to the left. When you start throwing the disc that high in the air, you want to have a more overstable disc. If you throw an understable disc, 45 feet in the air, you'd have to have a huge fairway, because that thing's going to want to turn, a big giant S-turn. So when you throw it higher in the air, you want to go more stable of a disc, because you want to get the disc way up in the air, but you still want to control and have it land to the left. You don't want it to flip. So as a beginner, you want to come in just straight out in front, 10, 15 feet maximum. And then as an intermediate, as you're kind of getting used to getting the nose down, 20, 25 feet. And then once you've got it down where you're pretty much throwing that way all the time, the sky's the limit. You can just put the disc however high you want in the sky. So it's real important when you're learning, just keep it right in front of you. Don't lift, don't throw up for distance. You got to go straight ahead for your distance. So I just recommend always, as a beginner, really practice on keeping this wrist down. That's all it really matters as a beginner. Once you get to become like an intermediate player and you're throwing with your wrist down, things start changing how you think of the game. But for now, I just recommend keep that wrist down, 10, 15 feet maximum. I'd stay about 10 feet, right in front. Then as you get better, you can increase the height. Another thing I see a lot of people do as a beginner, since they can't throw very far, they'll tee off on the tee-off box, and let's say it's a 400-foot hole. And they can only throw the disc like 50 feet. So, it takes them 10 tries just to get to the basket. So I'd recommend, if you're a beginner, walk closer to the basket. If you're playing a 400-foot hole, maybe walk about 200 feet away from the basket, and then, then do your throws, because that's pretty much equivalent to what everybody's playing off the tee-off box. The reason they moved the tee-off box is so that way you're still playing the hole to what it's set to play. Like if it's a 3 par, if they're saying like it's a 3 and it should take you 3 tries, and it's taking you 10, so move closer. So now you're like 200 feet away on that hole, and turn it into your own, 3 par, 2 throws and then take a putt. So I recommend, you can move along faster and you won't get as discouraged. I watch people here do it all the time. They'll throw on the hole and then, it takes them forever just to get down the fairway. So when you're learning, if it's a long hole, just walk down the fairway a ways and then tee off and just shorten the hole. So, that just, just things, as you're learning, you still want to make the sport fun. You don't want to come out and just get punished learning, So, even if you're playing with somebody, have them tee off, and then you move forward and then take your tee off, from forward. So like I said, it's all about just having fun. You want to make it sure that you're, throwing the disc and you're having fun at the game. So also, as a beginner and an intermediate player, you want to get comfortable with your disc so that you don't question the disc that you choose to throw. When I was learning, I used to go up on a tee-off box and I'd walk up with the disc I picked for that shot. And while I'm standing there, all of a sudden I'm like, I don't know if this disc is gonna make it. So then instead of changing disc to a faster disc, I'll try to throw it harder. So when I try to overthrow, now I come out of my throw, and I grip lock it. And it was just because I questioned the disc I was going to throw. So when you come up on the tee-off pad, and you have your disc, and if all of a sudden you're questioning, can I throw that disc that far, change out the disc to a different disc that might, that can go further. So now you'll still throw it at the same arm speed. The whole idea is to stay at the same arm speed, so that way you don't overthrow and then, break down on your mechanics. Whenever you're pressing to throw harder is usually when your mechanics will break down. You'll pull out of the shot. So when you're on the, tee-off box, it's, change disc if you have to. Some people walk up with 2 discs. Sometimes, you walk up with 2 discs and then decide, well, I don't need this one, and then play that disc. But you just got to trust your disc that they'll go, for the arm speed. You just want to keep your arm speed at the same tempo. You don't want to all of a sudden try to yak on one, and then that's where you get messed up. So when you're learning or an intermediate player, it's just really important to get comfortable with your disc, know how far they'll fly, and don't be scared to change out a disc. If you're on the box and you want to change out that disc, just change it out. So anyways, those are just some more thoughts kind of going through that I've done myself, and I watch people on the course. So just remember, throw it lower as a beginner, 10, 15 feet. Intermediate, maybe go at 20, 25. And then once you have the throw down, it's unlimited. And then when you're on the box, if you're questioning that disc will go as far as you want, change it out. Just pick another disc. So anyways, I hope that will help with some of your playing that you'll work in. So anyways, this is Michael out in Maui. Aloha.